Mari, thank you, and Rona as well, because I have to say we were a very, very early beneficiary of EventScotland's help, both in terms of financial help, but also I would rate actually the advice higher than the financial. I mean, the financial is incredibly important, but certainly from both of them and from your colleagues, a huge amount of help. So a big, big thank you. And hopefully what we've now achieved is significantly down to a lot of that help and advice that we got. There we go. The programme actually does say an outstanding smaller event. Well, that's very, very kind, but I felt I would let's just keep it to a smaller event perspective. Very briefly, for those who haven't been to the festival, and if you haven't, please do come. It takes place in Portsoy on the Moray Firth coast, halfway between Banff and Buckie. Very beautiful part of the world, still relatively undiscovered part of the world, but growing in terms of its appeal. There we go. The event actually was initially a one-off recognition of the tercentenary of the creation of the harbour at Portsoy. So it is in fact one of the oldest harbours on the Moray Firth coast. Interestingly, it was not a fishing harbour, it was a trading harbour, and it traded with the Baltic, the Low Countries, England and France. But a one-off event was held, hugely successful, and the team of people who put it together decided, right, let's try and make this an annual event. And this is the programme, the official programme, from the first proper traditional boat festival. Today, it's grown. We get, broadly speaking, we are very weather dependent, but broadly speaking, we get between 16 and 18,000 people attending. Now, over the course of the weekend. Now, if you bear in mind that Portsoy has a population of 2,000 and that the whole event is run by volunteers from the community, the impact on the town is very significant. And the fact that the town puts so much effort into it is nothing less than extraordinary. It is an extraordinary community. I have to say one thing. There are people actually who don't like the festival in Portsoy, so they go away. I think it's fair to say there are people in Edinburgh who don't like the festival and who go away, but there we go. Actually, they all let their houses for the people who are here. So what is the festival? Well, basically, we try to make it as authentic and representative a mix of the culture and heritage of the North East. So obviously it's a boat festival and boats play a key part. And these were some of the boats that we had this year. So it's traditional boats and we get a wonderful mix of traditional boats. We had a lovely thing 2 years ago where we had 7 Zulus. Experts told me that it was in fact the first time since the war, since the Second World War, that 7 of these Zulu craft have been sitting together. So it's lovely. But we also have very good attendance from this new initiative, or reasonably new initiative, of coastal rowing, initiated in Anstruther. Fantastic. Communities buy a kit, they build a boat, and then they race it. There's now over 200 of these kits across the world. We get international attendees. We're now very firmly on the calendar, and it's great fun to watch. And this is the heritage of today, and it's lovely to see that happening. Music, hugely important to the festival. One of the great joys as you walk around the town of Portsoy is just about every corner you'll find buskers, many of them children. And they love it, and it's a great opportunity. So everywhere you go, there is music. Crafts, we have a whole range of maritime-related crafts, so riggers, blacksmiths, boat builders, and the same with rural crafts. And what we try to do, in fact, quite a few years ago, we used to get people coming and just selling. Now, actually, we have a rule that if you're a craft attendee, either maritime or rural, you're doing what it is that you're actually presenting. They sell as well, of course, but that seems to add to the authenticity. Food, hugely successful element of the festival. Again, we keep the food fair very much restricted to artisan producers, local producers. So it gives them an opportunity to present their products and sell, and they do sell very, very effectively. We do a visitor survey every year, and interestingly, food consistently rates right at the top of the reasons. People still primarily come to see the boats, but food is the number 2 attraction. We also provide as many opportunities as possible for people to do things. So we have the sailing for children at Portsoy, and we have a 10K road run, which draws a good number, about 300 runners now. And we're adding more and more activities, particularly for children. And again, activities which actually give them an opportunity to try something like potting, throwing a pot, and so on. Money. We are just about self-sustaining. And certainly, because we're so weather dependent, gate money, obviously, good weather, happy, poor weather, unhappy. So certainly sponsorship is very, very important to us. We've got better at it. We really were pretty poor at it in the old days. And a lot of the points that were made about how you talk to people, terribly important. Also, there's a lot of luck. You know, you can have a chat with somebody who got out of bed the wrong side that morning and he doesn't want to know, if you see what I mean. So there is a lot of luck involved there. But sponsorship, we now present a full range of opportunities. And this is this year's festival program, the page where we feature all the sponsors. And you'll see that, I mean, we really do, sorry, there's a lot of detail you can't see there, but we really do get a very, very good mix now of national and regional companies, Aberdeen Asset, Northlink, major local companies, Ace Winches and so on. And we work very hard to keep in close touch with them. So we certainly, in addition to thanking them, we have meetings with the major sponsors, but a lot of them are local companies, and that's either in-kind support or financial contribution. For example, we operate a park and ride service. So you park up at the playing field in Portsoy, and there is a free bus which takes you down. Now that is actually donated by a local bus company, which is super because it's quite a significant cost element. We've also this year introduced a patrons club. The patrons club basically, if you are a patron, you receive and wear with pride that badge. That's it. There's no special deals for you. You pay the full entry money. There's no champagne receptions and so on and so forth. What you do is you commit £1,000 to the festival for 10 years. You don't pay us. You don't pay us anything. It's actually deficit funding. There are 60 patrons. We keep it to 60. So if we have a deficit, then we go to those patrons and say, would you please give us a 60th of the deficit? I have to say we got the 60 patrons very, very quickly. We've got some very interesting names included on the patrons, but it's been an interesting development. I hope we never have to draw on it. We didn't this year, thank goodness, so I hope we don't have to. But as I say, all they get is a little metal badge, and so far they seem to be happy. Mind you, I haven't asked them for money yet. That could get a bit interesting. So the festival has obviously very major economic impact for the community, for the area. I mean, I have to warn you, if you haven't been and try and come, oh, please come, but book up accommodation well in advance. Because really from Elgin in the west right through to Inverurie and so on, it's packed out. And in fact, we create 3 additional caravan parks because a huge number of attendees come by caravan. There's great pride and achievement in the community, except for those who go away, but they seem to be reasonably happy. The problem is, what was the benefit that the community was gaining? We are a charity, we're a registered charity, a limited company, but at best, to be perfectly honest, the festival is self-sustaining, but it does not produce significant sums of money which we could then give to organisations in the community. So that was a concern we had. The other one was financial vulnerability. So looking first at the community benefit, what we decided was, okay, we can't give money per se. What we can do is focus on community youth. And in fact, we did this in two areas, all to do with traditional music. For 8 years now, we've been running traditional music singing and instrumental courses in all the primary schools in the Banff Academy cluster, 8 primary schools. It culminates in a concert at the festival, packed out, parents love it, and it's proved very, very successful. And lovely, some of the kids who were early participants, particularly in the instrumental program, have now gone on into quite significant careers in music. So that was what we decided there, but equally we decided, okay, this is a boat festival. Boat building. The top picture there is the first project. We called it the Fairing Project, which was where we took a group of young teenagers, about 30 of them, and they built a boat. They built a boat from scratch. They saw the trees cut down, they saw the timber milled, and they built the boat, and built it right through to sailing it, launching it, and in fact it's still hale and hearty and doing very well. The lower picture is the program we started with primary school children, building little Optimist dinghies, simple little dinghies. We've now put getting on for 1,000 children through that boat building program in the primary schools. They've actually built now getting on for 80 boats. As you go round the whole area, you will see these boats, some of them with pot plants and other uses they've been put to, but several of them still in use. And in fact, actually, some of them, the Lighthouse Museum at Fraserburgh, Linda got in touch with me because we had so many, we really wanted to find people who might like to have them, and she's taken about 8 of them and is going to use them as a statutory for people visiting the lighthouse, which will, of course, feature Portsoy. So that certainly proved very successful, and here they are. That was one bunch actually sailing their boats. We teach them how to sail them as well. Financial vulnerability, another matter. A point made by Roussel was that, you know, it's a festival. Actually, all sorts of things could happen, could disappear. That would be it, gone. What we thought would be the best way forward, both in terms of removing that vulnerability and also creating income opportunities, was to build an asset base. The first one was this. This is the salmon bothy at Portsoy. It was the salmon house, centre of operation, major salmon fishing operation. Still in operation up to 1990. That picture was taken in 2006 in a very, very sad state. And we had the opportunity to get it for £5. Aberdeenshire Council kindly sold it to us for £5. They've never cashed the cheque, actually. But I suspect it's because it actually costs a lot of money to cash a cheque if you're a council. But there we are. And there it is today. Downstairs we have the museum, a fully accredited museum about the history of Portsoy in the area. Upstairs at the bothy we call it, it's got amazing acoustics, which we had no idea was going to be the case, but it has got these amazing acoustics. And that, in addition to being used for weddings, 2 funerals we've had up there, local businesses use it for presentations, it's Wi-Fi, fully kitted. But it's actually spawned an organisation called Folk at the Bothy. They actually now hold their own festival in May, which is terrifically successful. And there's a book club. They now hold their own festival in March, and that's proved very, very successful. So, okay, the salmon bothy we always knew was going to be at best break even. It was never going to be a money generator. Interestingly, the team of volunteers who run it actually do keep it in surplus. Not much, but they keep it in surplus, and that's terrific. And there's a real benefit for the community that is not money per se, but in terms of facility. Then Aberdeenshire Council contacted us. Aberdeenshire Council, let me preempt this by saying I have the highest regard for councils. I really genuinely do. I think they do a good job. I think they do a tough job, but I think they do it very well. Is that me time up? No. The council actually, yes, council warning. Aberdeenshire Council ran 11 caravan parks in the Shire with the best will in the world. Councils, and I genuinely say this, we work very close to them, are very, very effective operators, not commercially. They can't run things commercially, and they shouldn't try it. Portsoy Links Caravan Park had lost money consistently, quite a lot of money, actually. So they decided, in common with the other 10 caravan parks, one of them sadly at Banchory, washed away in the flooding. But they gave that to us on a 60-year lease, and I have to say it's made a profit from day one. In fact, quite a significant profit. So that's a very important contributor to our core costs. And certainly we're now in the process of actually investing money in improving its facilities and so on. We see the potential for growth here as quite significant. In the meantime, boat building, all the work we've been doing with the schools had actually generated a lot of local interest, and a number of adult volunteers got together and started building boats. Here you see some of them building a full-size cobble, salmon cobble. And that was terrific, all under the umbrella of the Boat Festival organisation. But we didn't have facilities, and it really was beg and borrow barns and so on and so forth. Not very good for carrying out major boat building projects. And we had another bit of luck. This derelict building, that's the front, that's the back, by the old harbour at Portsoy, and I mean derelict, was given to us for £1. Actually, we gave them cash, so we don't have a cheque issue there. But that was the building, and it was gifted to us on condition that we made it a facility, a permanent facility for boat building. 2014, Catherine Granger, Olympic gold medalist, world champion, lovely lady, came up and unveiled the foundation plaque for work to start on what we call the boat shed. She also went out rowing with some of the girl team, with two teams in Portsoy, Portsoy Quine and Portsoy Loon. She went out with the Quine team. She had never been in a rough sea. There was a 2-metre swell running. I hid because I could see the headlines. But she loved it. She loved it. And in fact, I had a lovely note from her in Rio, and we're hoping to get her back next year. That's the inside. We raised just under £500,000 for this. It was the nightmare project, but it's finished. And it's a beautiful building. It's now won 3 awards. It's up for 2 more awards. There, you see it there in its pristine condition. It's not like that now. It's lovely. It's packed with activity. There are currently 3 boats in the process of being built in there. One by an older team of volunteers, one by a guy who's actually paying to use the facility. And the third one, which has just started last week, is a project that links to, we've been actually teaching boat building at Banff Academy for 3 years now. And we identified that there was a challenge for the Academy. 14 to 16-year-olds didn't really want to be at the academy. They had to stay there legally, they have to stay, but they were, shall we say, disruptive or challenged in one way or another. So we talked to the academy, and in fact, we've developed an outreach project. And once a week, over the course of the year, during the terms, we have kids who come over and learn how to build a boat. Of course, it isn't about boat building. It's actually about social skills. And what we were really delighted about was that Chevron, who had sponsored the festival several times, but said they weren't going to sponsor it anymore for a number of reasons. But did we do anything educational? And we talked to them, and they've given us 2 years very generous sponsorship for this. We're now employing 2 boat builders working with these kids, and it's great to see. And the school, it's only been going now for about 2.5 weeks, but the academy are delighted, absolutely delighted. The effect on, it's got these kids out of the environment that they don't like, but it seems to be benefiting them in their normal environment. So very exciting. And again, a benefit for the community because there's another facility that's available for use. We don't like derelict buildings in Portsoy. This one, the back green, or the sail loft, was in fact a sail-making base, then subsequently a small holding. It's a listed building and derelict, as you can see. Owned by the North East of Scotland Preservation Trust. We got together with them because they were trying to find a use for it, because they bought it for £1 from the council, but because it's listed, they couldn't let it deteriorate, and they were really having a struggle deciding what to do with it. Contacted us, and we said, how about building a 26-bed bunkhouse? That was taken 3 weeks ago. I'm glad to say I'm not directly involved with the contractor on this one, like the other one, but it's running a bit behind, but it's scheduled to open in October. So we'll do a soft opening, see how we get on. That's a slightly longer view of it, and that's how it's looking now. I have to say, 1.8 million was raised for this. Crazy commercially, but that was the Heritage Lottery. It's a new fund they have where restoration makes no commercial sense. So they will actually put in the money that makes it commercially sensible, if you see what I mean. So they put in around just under £1 million towards it. As I say, 26-bed bunkhouse, communal kitchen, communal dining area, reception area, warden's flat, and bedrooms varying from 2 to 4 to 6-bed configuration. VisitScotland have been to see it, very excited. They think it's 5-star. We won't operate at 5-star actually. If it does get the designation, we'll actually operate it at 4-star. And by the way, it will include a hot tub in the walled garden. Because we've spoken to several bunkhouse operators, and they all said, don't forget your hot tub. Because winter and summer, visitors love to use it. So there we go, opening in October, and that's what it's called, the sail loft, and that's the architect's original drawings of how it will look. So that's where we're at. Still very much the festival at the heart of the organisation, but because of the income streams and assets that have been developed, we believe now that it has a firm and secure future. But interestingly, all of these things are working together. So for example, the sail loft and the caravan park, we're now developing residential programs where you can come and build a boat in the boat shed, stay at the sail loft, or you can come and do country dancing at the bothy, or traditional music, staying at the sail loft or the caravan park. So we really see this as a year-round now, where it was a weekend, now it's a year-round operation. All of those will operate throughout the year. Dare I say, possibly moving Portsoy to being something of a destination. And that we find very exciting. And certainly the community, now they've seen, particularly in the last 2 or 3 years, the assets these clearly visible assets, the support, if anything, continues to get stronger. But in fact, just 4 weeks ago, we changed the name of the umbrella organisation because it is a community organisation. Also, a lot of people in the town didn't really understand, they own it. None of this is in private ownership. It belongs to the community. It's a charity. It can't be sold to a commercial operator. It belongs to the community. So we've changed to Portsoy Community Enterprise as the umbrella name, although the individual elements, the festival, the boat shed, sail loft and so on, will continue with their individual brands. Exciting days. Is there method in our madness? We hope so. Time will tell. Please come to Portsoy, stay in the sail loft, stay in the caravan park, build a boat, and do some country dancing. Thank you very much.
See, I told you it was a good one. I guess what Roger's been talking about really does show this transformative impact of that festival, but maybe more than the festival, the group of volunteers that come together in a quite ingenious way that they had looked to make the festival sustainable, and then as a result of that created this really amazing impact for the community. So we're really proud to be involved in helping some of that development. I'm sure some of you must have some questions for Roger.
Does the sun always shine? Do you have many nationalities there?
Can we have the, oh, sorry.
Resident. Not a huge number, actually, no. Portsoy is also not a retirement community. It has a significant working population, and relatively speaking, few incomers, relatively, by comparison with some of the other communities around about, which are very much dominated by incomers. Portsoy isn't. I am an incomer. You may have noticed I've come from Troon, actually, but I've been there 26 years, so I think there are some people now who tolerate me. But no, generally speaking, we have... actually, there is Poles and Latvians, but that's sort of overspill from Banff.
Anyone else? James, over here, dear.
Cheers. Very interesting. Has the nature of the core festival changed in the now near 25 years? I know you'll have 25th anniversary coming up soon. It's because as this becomes a multiple capital asset, and then you've got other events going on different times of the year, has that impacted on the core event programming lines? Or
I think it has. It's a good question because it's something we've had to consider seriously. And in fact, by the way, I have to say the theme years we have used very actively as our theme for each event. We struggled with this year's.
Innovation architecture. Mind you, my goodness.
Well,
architecture design.
Yes, and that's being worked on, in fact. But yes, we've had to be careful that we don't lose the basic attraction of the festival. And we do, as I say, we do an annual visitor survey, and we really do dig as deeply as possible to find out if we're doing things right or wrong. Actually, we did this year. We made a mistake. Although there were reasons out with our control. We had a very, I think I said to you, year before last, we had all of those Zulu craft, historic Zulus. This year we were very short of boats. And, oh boy, that came through on the survey. Where are the boats? Where are the boats? We still have quite a lot of boats, but people, so we have to make sure we stick to the fundamentals. But with everything else going on, basically, well, certainly the boat shed, which is now a key part of the festival, has added to it and benefited. And the salmon broth is hugely important at the festival.
Another question up the back here, David.
So just when you mentioned there that you struggled with the themes, does that suggest that you have applied for funding every single year under a different theme? Can you do that? Can you just keep reapplying and tweak or amend what you're doing to fit the current theme?
I'm embarrassed actually because we've had many years of support. Not this year. We didn't apply for support this year. I hope we may do it sometime in the future. But my understanding is, provided it meets the criteria, and do read the criteria carefully, my understanding it can.
Absolutely, it's the proposition, you know, whatever we're trying to do in that particular year. If it's a strong proposition, it's a viable event. Obviously there's only ever so much money, but yeah, Portsoy, as you can tell, have put together very inspired propositions across the themed years.
And do you employ people now to bid for you now, or is it all still volunteers?
We have one part-time employee, Shona, who is our financial administrator, because it's actually, you know, with Caravan Park and everything, it's quite a big organisation, but that's it. However, we employ a warden for the Caravan Park, and in fact, it will be a joint wardenship with the sail loft. But no, at the moment, it is a big issue that we are very conscious of, and that is the challenge of the size of organisation getting beyond the capability and willingness of volunteers to run it. At the moment, the Board of Trustees are willing, but we are looking very hard at more funding, core funding, and that's very difficult, very, very difficult. I'm sure anybody here has approached anybody about core funding. The phone goes down pretty quickly, or you're shown the door. There is an interesting new development. We've been working with Social Investment Scotland, which I think has got great potential for the future, but we could talk about that for 20 minutes. But there's a real opportunity there for third sector operations. But yeah, it's a challenge.
Well, I hope you'll all join me in thanking Roger for his